Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're essentially putting on our forensic engineering hats to look at solar arrays in a completely different light. When we talk about wind and solar modules, the industry conversation usually just circles around basic structural claims, right? Things like, hey, will this panel mount survive a specific wind speed? But we're going way beyond the racking and the roof penetrations today. We're going to look at the hidden cumulative damage that wind inflicts right inside the solar modules themselves. We're bridging structural engineering with semiconductor physics to really understand a progressive degradation pathway that you simply cannot see with the naked eye.
Okay, let's dive into this. When I ask how wind actually destroys solar panels, what immediately comes to mind? For most of us, it's the chaotic aftermath of a hurricane or some severe localized storm. We picture entire arrays just ripped from their mounts, shattered glass all over the place, bent aluminum frames, the whole shebang. We tend to assume that if a panel hasn't gone through a catastrophic weather event, well, the wind hasn't really done any damage to it. But that assumption? It's leaving a massive gap in how we actually understand system longevity and safety.
There is this huge disconnect between what we expect wind damage to look like versus what's really happening. The myth is that wind damage is always this dramatic, single-event failure. You go out and look at an array after an incredibly gusty day, the glass isn't shattered, the frames aren't broken, so everything's perfectly fine, right? Well, the reality is a lot more insidious. In real-world systems, failure rarely looks that dramatic. It actually starts as movement you can't even see. It's the mundane, creeping reality of mechanical fatigue happening right under the glass. We're talking about totally invisible failures, microcracks and interrupted current pathways that are mechanically induced out there in the field.
Section 1. The physics of wind shear. Going from macro forces to micro strains.
So here's the fundamental math behind aerodynamic loading. Wind pressure, which we represent with Q, equals 1/2 times the air density, or ρ, times the wind velocity squared. Now, the absolute essential thing to realize here is that wind force isn't just a static, heavy push against the panel. Wind creates a dynamic, cyclic mechanical stress system. We're talking about continuous shear forces across the surface, dynamic flutter, vibration resonance. It is just constantly flexing the frame, twisting the laminate, and heavily loading the cells right beneath the glass.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that little exponent right there, velocity squared. Because of that one variable, wind force increases exponentially, not linearly. A really small, seemingly insignificant increase in wind speed actually produces disproportionately higher mechanical stress on the panel. The wind absolutely doesn't need to reach hurricane speeds to start transferring a massive amount of kinetic energy directly into your array.
And that exponential load? It has to go somewhere, right? It becomes force distributed across the panel's exposed surface area and then transfers right into the mounting structure. But the really critical takeaway from this mechanical stress equation, stress equals force over area, is that this force doesn't just distribute perfectly evenly. Stress concentrates. It zeroes in on very specific structural bottlenecks, your clamp points, the frame corners, and even the tiny little busbar transition regions inside the cells. This is exactly where the macro force of the wind hones in to become a serious microstrain. And this brilliantly illustrates the kinetic chain of energy we're dealing with. We start at step 1 with the wind itself, the aerodynamic shear. That energy pushes the panel, leading to step 2, module deflection, where the entire structure flexes. That flex travels deep down into the materials, causing step 3, cell strain. And finally, that microscopic strain results in step 4, microcrack propagation. It's a direct, totally uninterrupted line of mechanical energy transferring from a breezy afternoon right down into the microscopic lattice of the solar cell.
Moving to Section 2, Microcracks and the breaking of the silicon lattice. We have to remember the physical properties of the materials we're actually dealing with here. The aluminum frame of a solar panel, it can flex. The glass can bow slightly under pressure. But the silicon? Silicon is incredibly brittle. It absolutely does not bend like metal. When that wind shear flexes the module, the silicon beneath the glass fractures internally, at a microscopic level way before any visible damage ever appears on the outside. You can literally have a panel that looks completely pristine to the naked eye, but internally, the silicon lattice is just shattering.
So what happens when that silicon shatters? Well, these microcracks don't always reduce the panel's output immediately, which, by the way, is exactly why they're so dangerous. Instead, they act like roadblocks, interrupting the normal current pathways inside the cell. And this leads to a whole cascade of hidden electrical degradation. Dead, non-conducting regions just kind of emerge. The electrical current is forced to reroute through redundant, much narrower paths. And because all that current is squeezing through a smaller area, electrical resistance inherently spikes. And wherever you have increased electrical resistance, What do you got? You generate excess heat. Over time, this slowly, silently degrades the system from the inside out.
Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 3, diagnosing the invisible with electroluminescence, or EL imaging.
In the field, we usually rely on standard IV curve testing. But honestly, an IV curve test is basically just kicking the tires. It might show a quote-unquote healthy panel with totally normal electrical output, completely missing the fact that the silicone inside is deeply fractured. EL imaging, on the other hand, acts like an X-ray. It's this incredible post-install forensic tool that visualizes the invisible electrical damage, revealing the non-emissive fracture zones that standard tests just glide right past.
Running an EL test is fascinating because you essentially run the solar panel in reverse. In a totally dark environment, step 1, you forward bias the cell with an external current. Step 2, this actually injects charge carriers directly into the silicon lattice. And step 3, you measure the photon emission, the light, that comes from those recombination events. Healthy silicon will emit this beautiful, uniform infrared light. But if there are microcracks, those fractures interrupt the current, and they show up on the image as dark branching lines or fully dark segmented chunks. It literally makes the invisible completely visible.
Which brings us to our final section, preventing cumulative panel fatigue and some actionable installation takeaways.
Because we know for a fact that stress concentrates at specific points, real-world installation variables play a massive role in whether a panel is going to crack or not. These are your high-risk points right here. If you over-torque a clamp or use clamps with very narrow grip zones, you're immediately creating a pinpoint stress fracture risk. If your rail spacing is off, you're allowing the panel to excessively flex in the midspan during dynamic flutter. And when you couple that wind vibration with natural thermal cycling, expanding and contracting every day in the sun, you drastically accelerate that mechanical fatigue.
So the crucial point is this. True structural engineering for solar systems isn't just about keeping the panel bolted to the roof. The standard of, well, it didn't blow away is way too low. The true goal is to maintain absolute electrical integrity. To do that, the mounting design has to actively prevent that dynamic mechanical energy from reaching and straining the brittle silicon lattice inside the module. It's all about energy dissipation, not just rigid strength.
And we really must keep this fact from the source material at the absolute forefront of our minds, because once microcracks form, they do not heal, they only grow. It is a one-way street of degradation. Every single gust of wind, every millimeter of flex takes that existing microscopic fracture and pushes it just a little bit further, permanently degrading the panel's lifespan.
We've seen the physics, the kinetic chain of energy, and the diagnostic power of EL imaging. But bringing it all back to the real world, I want to leave you with this thought. What standard, everyday installation habits might you or your teams be using right now that are silently fracturing your solar arrays? The damage might be invisible today, but the electrical loss is inevitable tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking the hard questions and always keep looking beneath the surface.